Thanks for joining us.
Buckline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talk Line with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. It's always great to have Rabbi Chaim Daffin with us, noted historian. He authors so many different books dealing with Chabad, Hasidus, and other things affecting the religious Jewish community. So welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev, for giving me the opportunity. It's always wonderful and enjoyable to be with you.
Always love having you on.
We have great laughs.
Thank you. You know, the big issue right now is that the venerable Park East Synagogue, over 100 years old, the citadel of modern Orthodoxy in Manhattan, is now going to be Chabad affiliated, which means that you have Chabad will be serve as the assistant rabbi, the associate rabbi, running a lot of the programs in the shul. For all intents and purposes, it has become more Chabad than modern Orthodox. So are we seeing the Chabadification of modern Orthodoxy on the Upper East Side of Manhattan?
I think it's really Mashiach's times. If you need another sign for Mashiach that we're living in a messianic period, it's really wonderful and special. And it really is a culmination of what Norman Lamb told me 30 years ago when I interviewed him. It's in my book, Conversations with the Rebbe. Dr. Lamb said to me, he says, we, Yeshiva University, and Chabad are the closest to each other. You know, at that time, I was a beginner in my writing career, and I didn't fully get what he was saying, but 30 years later, I see it. And this, in a sense, I don't know if you want to call it a merger or...
they like to call it affiliation.
Affiliation, whatever the word that was used yesterday by your two guests. I forget the word. They used another word.
Collaboration.
Collaboration, right. But like you and I were saying before the program, it's only a matter of time down the road that I believe Chabad will, own this building, maybe with a board, because it's in Rabbi Schneier's best interest. Now, the reason I say that is...
Rabbi Arthur Schneier being, of course, the leader for so many years of Park East Synagogue.
Correct. The reason is he's a survivor. He happens to be, he says, a relative of the Balatanya, Reb Schneier Zalman, i.e. Schneier Zalman of Liadi. I believe he had a correspondence with the Rebbe over the years. And he's a very smart man, and as yesterday your guest said, he's done so much for Judaism in Manhattan, for chinuch, for Jewish education, and he's in his 90s. So when you put together your legacy and what you want someone to continue to reach the youth, and Chabad has really scored worldwide, not just in America. They're putting so much effort into C-teens, C-kids, Chabad on college programs. And I'm not talking about just, here or there, because Hillel does great work, the YU and the OU, everyone has their hands in all these things, but not on the scale of Chabad. I mean, that I've documented in various books, and the Pew study, really said the same thing. The level of affiliation with Chabad houses, which itself is kind of contradictory. You don't have to belong to Chabad to pray in Chabad, right? A membership is not necessary. That's one of Chabad's ways of getting people, okay? But nevertheless, and Rabbi Schneier understands this, and he sees this. The Haredim, whether it be the Hasidic Haredim, the Sephardic Haredim, or the Litvish Haredim, they ain't joining Rabbi Schneier's shul. It ain't happening. Even though they have the world's I thought he's the world's greatest cantor. Yesterday on your program, either you or they said he's number 2. Why is that?
No, they said what first? Rabbi Yitzchak Health God is no longer there. They said Benny Rogozinski is the number 2 chazan. So he's the chazan at Parky Synagogue right now. But Yitzchak Meir Health God is no longer there. He hasn't been there for almost a year now.
I didn't know that. So where is he?
I think he's freelancing. He's gone to Israel. You can get him for different weddings.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
He's a terrific. He's still a terrific chazan. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he lives a block away from me in Borough Park. We see each other in shul. But anyway,
They didn't say that he's nothing but a top-rated chazan, but they just mentioned that he's not there. And Benny Rogozinski is doing a great job. He's a chazan. He's running the place.
okay,
Right now.
okay. But if you could tell the audience and tell me, because I'm not a Manhattanite, you are. I'm a Brooklynite, and I'm sure the Manhattanites have their opinions about the Brooklynites, and we have our opinions about the Manhattanites. What happened over here that over the years the synagogue dwindled?
Well, you have to understand, first of all, the East Side has become more people moving to the East Side than the West Side, especially among the singles. And you had a number of years ago, I may have been during COVID or right after COVID, I'm trying to remember the exact time period, you had a Rabbi Goldschmidt, who was the assistant rabbi, who was looking to maybe take on a more senior role at the shul. And what happened was that, he was let go from the shul, and he formed another shul called Altanu, which is doing very well. They're bursting at the seams.
Right.
A lot of members of Parky Synagogue that originally were part of Parky Synagogue end up going to Altanu. Now, during that period of time, Parky Synagogue was looking for a dynamic rabbi to lead them, whether it's on an interim basis or maybe on a regular, more full-time basis, once Rabbi Schneier retires. So, and this is what came out, is that the shul was not able to find the modern Orthodox rabbi with the gravitas, with the personality, with the charisma to lead the congregation. So at the end of the day, they turned to Chabad because they couldn't find it in the modern Orthodox world.
Yeah, but tell me, I mean, it seems to me they're turning to Chabad for programming primarily.
No, they're going to be running the shul. They'll be davening there. It won't be Nusach Hari, it won't be the Chabad davening version, at least not right now, but they'll be the associate rabbi, they'll be giving sermons, they'll be running the shul, there'll be Kiddushin, there'll be dinners, there'll be all kinds of things going on. So it's more than just being a program director, it's going to be the daily shul is really going to be Chabad run.
And how far is this shul from the Chabad of the East Side, Rabbi Krasnyansky?
Not that far away. I'm not sure what Rabbi Krasnyansky is going to do with his building right now, if they're going to be able to maintain 2 buildings. I did reach out to him. I hope to hear back from him shortly. But this gives them, first of all, it's a structure. You have a big building. You have a beautiful ballroom. You can have events. Now, Rabbi Krasnyansky has the mikveh there, so I'm not sure if what they're going to do with the building, because you have the mikveh there. You don't have a mikveh in Parky Synagogue.
And also he lives there, by the way. He lives on the top floor.
On the top floor. So I'm sure they'll find some use, for that building in Park East. Park East has a school as well. So it gives them a great vantage. And listen, it's a great real estate property as well.
Yeah. I want to tell you, I know Rabbi Krasnyansky from childhood and teenhood.
He's a wonderful person. I know him. I know his brother Itchik.
Not only is he a wonderful person, he's a massive Talmud Chacham. I mean, a massive Talmud Chacham. And he's calm, and he's the right man for the job. I can tell you that he's the right man for the job. Not many others could do it, in this setting. Now, what's going to be with the board here? So you think the board's going to become eventually a Chabad board?
Well, what makes it right now, the board voted in to have Chabad come and take over, affiliate with the Park East Synagogue. But at some point in the future, as you have more Chabad members join the shul, you can imagine that the board will become more people with Chabad that will join the board. That's natural, especially if the shul numbers have been dwindling the last couple of years, and if they have an influx of new people affiliated with Chabad, you can imagine they're going to join the board.
Yeah. And have you reached out and spoken to Rabbi Schneier yourself about this?
I've not reached out to him. I've spoken to people affiliated with the shul, and I did speak to Rabbi Krasnyansky the other day as well. And listen, it was a decision that Rabbi Schneier endorsed, because, like I said, they did look to YU, Yeshiva University, to get them a modern Orthodox rabbi to run the institution, but they were not able to find somebody who fit the bill of having that charisma, that power that's going to build a shul, they were, for what it looks like, they couldn't find such an individual.
It's hard to believe that, to imagine. What do you mean they couldn't find an individual that needs a job and wants a job and has here a building? I mean, do you believe that?
I'm not sure what they were looking for, what the criteria is. I think there are a lot of dynamic rabbis out there today, but obviously you have to be able to fit in with the milieu of the Park East Synagogue and deal with the Holocaust survivors and the older generation and the younger generation and the Hebrew school. So I'm not sure exactly what they were looking for, but obviously they didn't find what they wanted. So that's why they took a different direction, and they did look for a number of years.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, they as I was saying before, Chabad is you know the organization very well from the inside and the outside, as we've discussed at other times. And I only see Chabad being able to do this with Park East, really, because the Haredim are not doing it, and the modern Orthodox kind of those that really believe in modern Orthodoxy and are conducting such a program in shul, Park East has too much baggage. It has too much baggage.
Define what you mean by baggage.
In other words, even those two people you had on yesterday, they're long-time members of Park East.
Rabbi Reuben Kahana, Rabbi Jonathan Meadows.
Yeah, they're coming in with a full plate. The young people you just said, are not going there, so you can't start from new. So here you have a situation where a shul is pretty much dying out, and you want to create something new. Well, to create something new, you need players, you need people. To bring those people in this situation with Rabbi Schneier still at the helm, and a board that's still his board. Their mindset is not new. It's stale in a sense. They think it's not stale, but it is stale. And what you need here is a paradigm shift. You need a complete change. Chabad coming in is something so different that it can bring to the table the youth. And I think that's going to be the success of Chabad, is their programs for youth.
Our guest, Rabbi Chaim Dalfin, noted historian of Chabad in the Hasidic community, and we're looking at the affiliation agreement between Chabad of the Upper East Side and Park East Synagogue, one of the most venerable and one of the most respected citadels of modern Orthodoxy, Manhattan, located on the Upper East Side. But here's the thing, though. One of the factors here, and I mentioned it earlier, is singles. You have lots of singles that have migrated to the east side of Manhattan, from the west side and from elsewhere. And you look at Alton, you have a lot of singles there. But singles are also known where for this year they're going to this shul, next year they migrate to a different shul. So you may, and I know Chabad welcomes singles, and I think it's an important component of what they have. And I would assume they're probably going to attract some more of the singles. They'll have good kedushin, they'll have good dinners, they'll have ways of attracting people to come to shul. So I think it'll be an interesting dynamic. The question is going to be is what's going to be the role, how is the shul going to change over the next few years?
Okay, so let's take Chabad on the west side, Rabbi Kugel, who you know very well.
Very well, does a wonderful job, and he's really built it up.
Okay, so ask that same question about Chabad on the west side, or are you telling me there's an intrinsic difference between the west side and the east side?
Well, first of all, Chabad of the West Side, and I remember when he was on 102nd Street, and it grew and became, he used to have the Green Kiddush, I remember, and then they grew, and he has two different locations. He has a separate minyan for singles on Shabbos, by the way, on the Upper West Side. He has a regular minyan, he has a minyan for singles, because the West Side is still a lot of singles that are there, and they're catering to the singles. They have a good Kiddush, and they have a good way for the singles to socialize, so that's working out very, very well. I would suspect that on the east side, since the singles have been migrating there the last number of years, you're going to see Park East Synagogue maybe have more Jewish singles dinners. In fact, they used to rent out KJ for singles events. I think you're going to see that migrate to Park East. You're going to see a lot more activity taking place after Rosh Hashanah when the affiliation begins. So there's a lot of potential there, and just needs, there's going to be an excitement. There's a new direction. There'll be excitement about it. So the question will be where they're going to come from. Are they going to come from the west side? Will they come from Altoona? Will they come from other places? That's where the jury will be out on that.
Let me ask you also, as I think about this idea, do they have Israelis in the vicinity? Israelis?
They do have Israelis there too. I know Chabad does very well with Israelis.
That's what I was going to say.
They do.
I think Israelis are going to be a strong point for Chabad in Park East now.
Very, and listen, they also had a lot of Israeli diplomats have come there to speak, and I'm sure in the school they must have had some Israeli kids in the school, because the school has had one of the best years, from what I understand, this year, and that's a very big legacy of Park East, is that they have a school.
When you say a school, you mean only a preschool or elementary school?
No, a day school. I'm not sure to what grade it goes up to, but they have a day school, and it's an important thing because that's one of the legacies of Park East, is that they have an education where they have hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the course of time have gone through their school, their day school.
And Chabad's is going to be taking that over, or
What I understand, they're taking over the whole institution, and the day school is part of the institution. So it would stand to reason that they would also be in charge of the day school.
Right. Listen, I think that Rabbi Schneier it's only a win-win situation for him. It really is. I mean, after 120, he's going back to Hashem, to God, with a tremendous merit. Really, because this venerable synagogue, 100 years old, which is a bastion of orthodoxy in Manhattan. I mean, this is the world, is Manhattan, and this is the shul of the shuls in Manhattan. I believe it's cool in his. It's great. It's great. He's really a winner. He's going to be the winner.
And by the way, you haven't spoken in Park East Synagogue under the old regime. You'll get to speak under the new regime, I'm sure.
I hope so. I was going to say Rabbi Krasniansky's brother-in-laws are Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson and Rabbi Simon Jacobson. So, he brings them in. I think they'll attract the crowd too. And you bring him in a few times a year, I'm sure they'll do it well. And his son-in-law, Rabbi Wilhelm, have you met him?
I met Rabbi Wilhelm, sure.
Yeah, he's young and energetic, and he's gonna do well on that level. So, let me ask you, how is the modern Orthodox world outside of Park East taking this news?
Well, listen, what I said the other night is true. Modern Orthodoxy feels under siege, because the big thing is camping. You have a lot of Haredi camps and yeshiva camps, but modern Orthodoxy has maybe 7 big sleepaway camps I'm talking about. And you have a couple of them that are under danger because there was a bankruptcy by 2 Israeli brothers that put in jeopardy. There was a whole big to-do that all was going to buy Camp Levi, and it all pulled out. The parents were very upset. So they feel they're under threat right now, because sleepaway camp is a very important component. In some ways, it's more important than yeshiva, but you get in the summertime in camps.
Yes.
They feel that they feel that in the Park East situation, there's another institution that's going Chabad. Not that they like Chabad, don't get me wrong, but they feel under siege that modern Orthodoxy is losing out in different fronts.
Well, tell me. I mean, you know the Jewish world better than I, in a sense. So, is modern Orthodoxy worldwide on the down?
No. First of all, in Israel, it's on the up. You have the religious groups, the religious Zionists. They're a force and growing. Look at them taking over more of the army and more government. In the United States, you have pockets. You have places like Teaneck, and you have places like New Rochelle and the Five Towns and other areas where you have a thriving. Look at the yeshivas. The Frisch School is expanding and growing. SAR, modern Orthodox, growing. Ramaz also doing very, very well. You have some new schools that have come up. You have SAM, which is more of a Sephardic school in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So you have those strong institutions. But on the Hasidic and Haredi side, you're having 10 or 15 kids. Well, the modern Orthodox may have 4 or 5 or whatever. It's much smaller numbers. So demographically, in the Orthodox world, you'll find that modern Orthodox compared to the Haredi world is less numbers because of the kid factor. But they're growing, and they're citadels and strong. Look at Yeshiva University. Yeshiva is strong, very strong, very. In fact, I think it's having a bad year, especially with all the anti-Semitism on campus. I think YU has benefited by that. A lot of kids who ordinarily would go to a secular college are going to Yeshiva University or going to Tura.
Right. Okay. But if you compare a YU to Lakewood, I mean, it's not even a comparison. It's the numbers.
Listen, Lakewood is the biggest. What is it? One of the biggest yeshivas, if not the biggest in the whole world.
Yeah.
Why it doesn't have that same numbers? They don't have the same kind of kollel situation that you have. But you have some very serious rabbanim and students that come
Of
out from
course,
YU. They
of
have a very
course.
impressive product.
Of course, of course.
And here's the other problem: a lot of the best of Yeshiva University and rabbis end up going to Israel. They're very Zionistic.
Yeah.
So they're not staying here. So you have a brain drain of some of the best talent when they finish and they go to year. Remember, after they finish high school, they go to Israel for a year or two. And guess what? A lot of the most serious and most influential of them are making Aliyah and living in Israel. So you have a brain drain over here.
Okay, so doesn't that point to the modern Orthodox of America, of Manhattan, are turning more to the right? Isn't there a drift in modern Orthodoxy to the right?
Modern Orthodoxy has moved to the right over the course of time, no question about that. You have modern Orthodox, Haredi or Hadal, whatever you want to call them. There is a Machmir, that's modern Machmir. You have a whole group of that. They're serious about it, but you also have people who've come from the conservative movement. Look at even Chabad. A lot of people go to Chabad. You can classify as modern Orthodox or conservadox. So they're not going to be. Listen, if you go to a conservative synagogue or Reformed temple, the rabbi looks like the congregation, vice versa, and they're similar.
Right.
You go to Chabad, you have the Chabad rabbi. They're not really Chabadniks in the sense that they have the Chabad lifestyle, but they're modern Orthodox. They may have that kind of lifestyle, and I think Chabad has been excellent in drawing that kind of people to its shuls and institutions and leave it on campus. They do a wonderful job on campus and who they get.
Right. How does Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik and his synagogue fit into the whole milieu of Manhattan?
Well, Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik is the rabbi of the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue, which is a different shul. They have not been able to attract. I mean, he's a wonderful speaker. A lot of people come to his speeches, but the shul has not really grown. Again, it's a special minhag, special nusach, the way they daven, they pray, that whole set of different customs. So it's not really as open as, let's say, look, you have the Jewish Center growing in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. You have OZ, which is a very strong Orthodox congregation. Look at Square Synagogue, for example, also very, very strong. You have on the east side, you have Orach Chaim, you have KJ, Kila Jeshurun, and you have other shuls as well. 50th Avenue Synagogue. You have even Altenau, you can class as a modern Orthodox. So you have strong facilities that are modern Orthodox and growing, and you have a lot more shiurim in these shuls today, and you have a lot more serious people that are coming. You have daily minyanim, which is a wonderful thing.
Now, I had another question when I was listening to your interview with the two people. Why didn't Rabbi Mark Schneier take over the shul?
The Rabbi Mark Schneier, and I always thought that he would take over Park East Synagogue. But remember, he has an infrastructure, fundraising with the West Hampton Synagogue. It's a full-time occupation, and there are some members that are both that are akin to the West Hampton Synagogue and Park East Synagogue. But the impression that I have is that he didn't want to take over another institution, even though it's his father's. He would be a natural for it, but he has his hands full with the West Hampton Synagogue. You have to constantly fundraise. And it would take away from his running of his West Hampton Synagogue if he also was a full-time rabbi and took over Park East. So I believe his baby is the West Hampton Synagogue.
Is the board here giving a salary to Rabbi Krasyansky? Do you have any idea about the salary structure, or there's no
What
salary?
I understand is that the Chabad gave $1 million toward Park East for the affiliation. That's the numbers that I was told. I have to verify those numbers. So there was money exchanging hands in the sense that they came in and they have to take care of some of the expenses of Park East Synagogue. So I'm not sure about what the salary would be, but what it looks like is maybe they would have to fundraise that on their own. That's the impression I have.
So and you just said that Chabad gave Park East $1 million.
Correct. That's what I've been told. Again, we have to verify, but that's what I've been told.
Interesting. Yeah.
So listen, the whole deal is unusual. It's very interesting. It changes the dynamics on the east side. Listen, Chabad is wonderful. They're able to draw people that nobody else is able to draw into shul with their programs and with their activities. So it's a wonderful thing. And as I said, east side is growing Jewishly, especially in the singles arena. We have more of them moving. And from what I understand, the rents might even be a little cheaper on the east side than on the west side, which would help fuel more people moving to the east side.
So how do you compare now to 2026, 27 compared to when Rabbi Riskin was around, Rabbi Ephraim Buchwald, and the Ramaz rabbi, I forget his name now,
Rabbi Lookstein.
How do you compare that time period to now?
I think things have shifted. As I mentioned, remember, Lincoln Square Synagogue under Rabbi Riskin was a singles place. It was called the Winkenstein Synagogue. That was the joke. Okay? But what happened was, over the course of time, people migrated to more in the 80s. Lincoln Square Synagogue was in the 60s. People moved more to the 80s and 90s. Now, Lincoln Square Synagogue has a new building in the last number of years, and they were reinvigorated. More people have been coming to Lincoln Square, and they've got more from the Heschel crowd and others that come there. Your West Side Institution, I did also, has been holding steady. And you have Oheb Tzedek that's growing, and you have Vermont Ora. So you have a whole group of shuls. Even the Chabad shul, most of the people going to the Chabad shuls on the Upper West Side are Mount Orthodox. They're going for good kiddush, to be with the singles. You look at the single shul, is packed every Shabbos, and the regular shul is also. So you have that group. So people, it's moved. And after COVID, a lot of families have moved out. So for a while, Manhattan Day School suffered from it. Ramaz suffered from it. I think it's rebounded where they're able to get now more kids are going to MDS and going to Ramaz. But there was a period of time where things have shifted and people did move.
Okay, and what about with Mamdani being the mayor? Has that caused you think that people to move out, or people are still not moving?
I think some people have moved out. It's early to tell because the city has changed. But I can tell you, I spoke to one Jewish organization that ordinarily has their dinner in Manhattan. This year, they're moving to New Jersey to have the dinner because Mamdani. They're a pro-Israel group.
Wow.
And I think you may see more of that to where people are going to be, if they have a choice, they may not go to Manhattan, they may go elsewhere. There will be some migration from Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And the boroughs too, because of the situation that's going on.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And Rabbi Chaim Dalfin, thank you for being with us. So it's good to have you on the show, and we're looking at some very interesting issues. So look forward to having you back on a future broadcast.
Thank you very much, Zev, and have a good gebenched year. May be written and inscribed for a year of blessing and good life and only simchas, and we should see Mashiach already.
Amen, amen. And same thing for you, B'chein Lamar, you be a good gebencher for all of us. We have to have the unity, and we should have, I think the Chavis Chaim was once asked, we shouldn't really factionalize. Why don't we have one shul, forget Nusach Hari and Nusach Smart, let's have one nusach, one way of prayer, one prayer book. But he said in those days he was in Russia. So he said the Russian army, the Tsar has a naval division, has an infantry division, and that division. So same thing with Jews, that we have to have different divisions. We are all unified under one banner, but we have different divisions. So it's okay to have nusach Svard and Ari and whatever it might be.
And I just want to say this. I'm glad you brought it up. This is an example of unity. It really is. I'm telling you. And it's going to make an impact on the future generations. That, modern Orthodoxy, Chabad, and others, you'll see, they'll be joining, they'll be coming, good things are going to come out of this.
Absolutely. The shul will be full with people as long as everybody gets along, which they will. Chabad is very good in making people feel welcome and comfortable. And the more, I believe we have to have more Jewish education. Our biggest challenge is most Jews in America today don't know what it is to be a Jew.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Right.
And
you say they have a school here, so and Chabad excels in schools, so right, it'll do a good job with that too. Zeb, thanks for your time. All the best.
Rabbi Chaim Dalfin, noted Chabad historian here in the Talk Line Network. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in.